What if the very machines that built your reputation also carried the seeds of your downfall? That contradiction defines the deeper, more complex story behind Car Masters, Rust to Riches and the Rise of Gotham Garage under the leadership of Mark Towle. To casual viewers, the series was a polished mix of creativity, negotiation, and transformation, an addictive formula that turned Rust into profit and unknown builders into recognizable personalities. But beneath the glossy edits and dramatic reveals was a far more layered narrative, one shaped by ambition, controversy, and the constant tension between art and authenticity. Long before the involvement of Netflix, Towle was carving out a niche that few others occupied. His early work wasn't about traditional restorations or concours-level perfection, it was about spectacle. He specialized in building cars that felt like they belonged on a movie set rather than a highway. This focus on cinematic design allowed him to stand out in a crowded automotive world, but it also set the tone for everything that followed. Gotham Garage wasn't built on preserving history, it was built on reimagining it. Cars became canvases, and Towle positioned himself not just as a mechanic, but as a storyteller working in steel and fiberglass. That storytelling instinct, however, came at a cost. The legal battle with DC Comics marked a turning point that could have ended his career entirely. By producing and selling replicas of the Batmobile without authorization, Towle crossed into a gray area where creativity collided with intellectual property law. The case, which ultimately reached the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, concluded with a ruling that the Batmobile was a protected character, not just a vehicle design. Towle lost, facing significant legal and financial consequences. Yet paradoxically, the case amplified his visibility. Suddenly, he wasn't just a niche builder, he was a headline, a figure known across both automotive and entertainment circles. When Car Masters premiered in 2018, it effectively transformed that notoriety into mainstream success. Produced by Mac Pictures, the show leaned into everything that made Towle unique. Each episode followed a structured but engaging formula: acquire a low-value or unusual vehicle, redesign it with bold creativity, and then trade or sell it for something more valuable. This trade-up concept gave the series a sense of momentum, as each deal built toward a larger payoff. Viewers weren't just watching cars being restored, they were watching a strategy unfold, one that combined craftsmanship with calculated risk. But the very elements that made the show entertaining also raised questions. Reality television operates within constraints that don't always align with real-world business practices. Deadlines must be met, story arcs must be completed, and outcomes must feel satisfying within a limited runtime. As a result, many fans began to question the authenticity of what they were seeing. Online discussions frequently focused on whether the trades were truly organic or partially orchestrated for dramatic effect. While there is no definitive evidence that the show was entirely staged, it's widely understood that production influences, from guided negotiations to edited timelines, likely shaped the final product. The builds themselves became another focal point of debate. Towle's emphasis on visual impact sometimes overshadowed practicality, leading to creations that looked stunning on camera but raised concerns about real-world usability. Projects like the heavily modified Frankenbus highlighted this tension. Was it a bold artistic statement, or an example of excess driven by the need to entertain? Similarly, recurring design choices such as the cobweb motif divided audiences. For some, it added character and a sense of identity. For others, it suggested shortcuts or an attempt to mask imperfections. Reports of uneven finishes or rushed detailing further fueled the perception that the demands of filming occasionally compromised quality. Despite these criticisms, the show's cast brought depth and relatability that kept audiences engaged. Constance Nunez emerged as a key figure, blending technical expertise with on-screen charisma. Her background with major automotive brands like BMW and Ford added credibility, while her role in the garage positioned her as both a builder and a counterbalance to Towle's more theatrical instincts. Importantly, her status as a contractor rather than a full-time employee revealed a layer of complexity often hidden from viewers. The dynamics within the shop were not as straightforward as the show sometimes implied. Sean Pilot played an equally crucial role, acting as the bridge between creativity and commerce. His negotiations often served as the emotional and strategic core of each episode, turning builds into tangible profit. With a background that included acting and professional poker, he brought a calculated approach to deal-making that complemented Towle's vision. Meanwhile, Mark Towle and Tony Quiñones provided the technical backbone of the operation. Their work, welding, shaping, assembling, turned ambitious concepts into physical reality, often under intense time pressure. As the seasons progressed, however, signs of strain began to appear. Some viewers noted a perceived decline in build quality, while others pointed to repetitive concepts or less compelling trades. The novelty that once defined the show began to fade, and competition within the automotive entertainment space grew stronger. By the time the sixth season aired in 2024, the series no longer commanded the same level of excitement. Its cancellation, though not heavily publicized, reflected broader shifts in viewing habits and streaming priorities. Even so, the impact of Car Masters extends beyond its runtime. It introduced a new kind of automotive storytelling, one that prioritized personality, risk, and spectacle alongside mechanical skill. It also blurred the line between reality and performance, raising important questions about authenticity in entertainment. For Gotham Garage, the show served as both a launchpad and a magnifying glass. It brought global attention, but it also invited scrutiny that might never have existed otherwise. Today, Gotham Garage continues to operate, and Towle remains a prominent figure in the custom car world. The end of the show did not mark the end of the business. If anything, it reinforced the distinction between the two. Television may have amplified the drama, but the underlying craft, the ability to design, build, and sell unique vehicles, remains real. At the same time, the controversies and criticisms that followed the show serve as a reminder that success in such a visible space comes with trade-offs. In the final analysis, the story of Car Masters and Gotham Garage is not simply about cars, profits, or television ratings. It's about the delicate balance between creativity and credibility, between entertainment and authenticity. Mark Towle's journey illustrates how ambition can both elevate and endanger, how the same vision that drives success can also attract scrutiny. And perhaps that's what makes the story resonate. Because behind every dramatic reveal and high-stakes deal lies a deeper truth. In a world where reality is shaped for the screen, the line between what is real and what is performed is never as clear as it seems.